Hi, I'm Brendan, art director and art lecturer. In the previous video, we've covered the process of creating a human skull from start to finish. In today's video, we'll cover some major landmarks and features of a human skull. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what you're seeing on my screen is basically a ZBrush sculpt that we made in the previous video, but baked and textured in Substance Painter. As you can see over here, the lighting, it's kind of showcasing the features, but in this video specifically, we will cover the landmarks and features. So without further ado, I did a couple of sketches here and there, and let's run them through from the biggest to the smallest. Alright, let's start with the frontal part of the bone of the skull. We have the frontal bone, which forms the layman term of a forehead, right? And it's pretty pronounced in the sense and very recognizable. We do have a couple of features that are more applicable to the artist side of our audience, so let's stay tuned for that. We have the nasal bone here, which forms basically the nose bridge, and we have a cartilage bone over here which completes the shape of a nose, right, what we know as a nose. We have this sphenoid piece here, which in my opinion is probably the most complicated piece if you were to study a 2D drawing, like either it's like from this view or this view. It's difficult to understand where that piece is, so this 3D view hopefully does paint a better picture. It's basically a continuous piece from here on the side of your forehead, and there is the overhang feature here and goes underneath and back here towards the front, right? And this piece here is the sphenoid. The sphenoid is basically quite a complex and large piece within this area here. But of course, comparatively, it's relatively small to this larger parietal bone. We have two pieces of parietal bone, one on the left and one on the right, and over here divided by a suture. We have this A-shaped suture, and this big piece here at the back is the occipital, right, and that forms the back part of the cranium. On the side, we have a temporal. We covered this sphenoid as well, which is linked to this portion. We have the zygomatic, which is this part that forms the cheekbone, aka cheekbone. And over here, just above the frontal teeth, right, the upper jaw, we have the maxilla. The maxilla is quite a interesting kind of like a piece here where it goes like this and then it comes back out again, coming down here, and it's kind of where all the teeth are connected to. And back here again, like and basically sits well with the nasal bone. There's a couple of other different bones that is within the nasal itself, but we shall not dive deeper into that. We have the mandible. The mandible is basically, you know, like for chewing, right? So the entire rotation rotates around this area, and the lower jaw would open and close for chewing. So this covers like the major bone that is needed for the understanding of a skull. Moving on to the second phase, which is something a little bit more detailed. We have a couple of features in this case covering sutures, right? We have the coronal suture on the top, right, which is going from the left temporal to the right temporal. Sorry, in the other end, right temporal to the left temporal. We have the sagittal suture that goes from the front towards the back, linking towards the occipital, and that is basically the one that divides the parietal from left to right. We have the rhomboid suture that forms like an A shape from here up towards the middle and then back down again, and it's connected all the way towards the bottom side of this area. We have the sphenoid suture, and that's the connection between the parietal and the temporal bone. We have also this piece here, which I did watch one of the YouTube video, and this area is actually very, very fragile because of the connection here. And right behind this piece of bone, there is a very important, I think it's an artery, which if it's damaged, it causes very serious brain damage. We have the acoustic meatus, which is also aka ear hole, right? That's where your eardrum is situated further in, and you have other, you know, organs in that area. But this is basically the area for the ear hole to be positioned in. Over here at the front, we have the infraorbital foramen. The foramen is a very interesting hole or a entry point that links all the way up to this area here as well. In fact, when I'm looking at references of skull, I did not quite take a notice of this location. Like, in fact, when I'm doing this video, I've learned this new knowledge, and it's definitely rewarding. So this area here, it's basically allowing, if I'm not wrong, nerves to be passing through the skull in and out of this area. We also have another one called the mental foramen. The foramen here as well, I think, fulfill the same purpose for nerves to be passing through. We also have this called the mandibular condyle, and this is basically the rotation point of the entire jaw. Right, later on, I think we can also cover some of the muscles that is attached to this part of the jaw, and the rotation points is happening on this position. We have this mandibular angle, which is this part here, like this protrusion here, and I think, yeah, that's pretty much a couple of secondary landmarks. Let's move on to the tertiary ones, which is the most applicable towards an artist. First and foremost, I think if you look at a very generic skull, the two spheres, when we start with a sphere, for example, when we are sculpting, we would compress the two sides to form a flat surface, and that is basically trying to depict the temporal line. And this feature here is actually quite pronounced when I'm studying the skull. This patterns here basically draws the line for the temporal line. And over here we can also see the zygomatic arch, and over here from the top view, it's an arch, right? And if we look at the frontal view, the zygomatic arch, it's also the most protruding part of the face, and that itself is pretty important when we are sculpting. You would see this feature on the side towards the ear, right? Where the eardrum is. This is where it is. This part is also something that I think I know when I were to feel the back of my head, I would touch this bone, but I never knew how protruding it was. So this is the mastoid process, right? This sits right behind the eardrum, and if you were to feel that part of your head right now, you would also get a sense of that. Let's move to the front before we move to the back part. This is the socket, right? The eye sockets. The eye sockets are also very iconic, and one of the things that stands out most is how this part here isn't actually straight or upwards. It's actually quite, if you look at an expression, the eyebrow is almost frowning, right? So this feature here, and also the side view here, if you look at the lines, to take note of the shape. We have the nasal spine, and that is basically this tip here, which I again do not notice before, and this here is also a very strong feature to form a nose, right? So if you complete a nose, this here is what it's something that you could feel. It connects to the cartilage of the nose. And we also have this called the mental protuberance, and this is basically the double chin, right? The well-known double chin. Over here at the bottom, you would see this W, the shape of a W, and that usually is what forms the lower lip, like you could imagine the lip, and over here there is always a W shape. So do look out for that as well in photo references and also in the skull. Let's move to the back part. There's only two features left. The occipital lobe, or the occipital bone here, there is a very iconic feature of the back part of this area. It's called the occipital protuberance. It's basically the same term here, right? Protuberance for the mental, but in this case we have it for occipital. And over here we have two pieces of muscles, the neck muscles that is connecting to this area, which is why there is this feature to kind of almost form like a grip for the muscles to grow or grip on. At the bottom we have a foramen magnum, and that's where it connects towards the spine. And this feature here is probably the least seen because it's so hidden within a human skull or a human body. So that will be all, and I hope you guys find this sharing helpful. If it does, please do like and subscribe to support the channel. And at the same time, if you would like to have your hands on this 3D model, please do join my Discord channel, which I have pasted in the link below. And I will be sharing these documents there. Hope to see you around. Take care. Bye.